put the recording on without me bad-mouthing the whole thing, which is good, right? Okay. So, the idea of this is to give you an idea of what the expectations are over the next 3 years in terms of what we call academic practice. You're going to hear that phrase a lot over the next 3 years, academic practice. Now, some of you, unfortunately, and this kind of sucks, but it will apply to someone in this room. Some of you are going to hear that phrase reapplied in terms of academic mispractice. That is something we always want to avoid, because academic mispractice sucks. Academic mispractice is the idea that you have done something which does not correspond to academic good practice. So I guess if we cover what academic good practice is today, you don't get academic mispractice. Academic mispractice can be very severe. The penalties for academic mispractice can range from a 0 grade for an assignment to being kicked out of university full stop. Let's start right there. Let's start with something that you don't want to do, obviously. How did you get kicked out of university? Any ideas? Yeah. Plagiarism. What's that mean? Using somebody else's work and claiming it's yours. Is this a way that you can get kicked out of university? Why? What's the problem? What's so wrong with that? It's not your book. What's the problem with that? What's so bad about using someone else's work and calling it yours? Doesn't sound that bad. I mean, if you murder somebody, that's pretty bad, right? You might have faults on both sides, but you know, at the end of the day, that's not going to go down well. Why so severe? Because you're not giving them credit. Oh, hoo. It sucks to be them. Yeah, fair enough. That's a good point, but it seems a bit harsh, right? So, theft. Thank you very much. What's your name, sir? Ben. Ben is spot on. It is an act of theft. The university interprets it actually more severely than theft even. It interprets it as an act of fraud. You are engaged in, better want and purpose, a commercial relationship with this institution. You have fees and so on, they go towards your education and the provision of particular services. And in the completion of your degree, what is judged with plagiarism is that you've committed an act of fraud. You have not done your part of it, instead you try to pass off somebody else's as your own. That is a fraudulent exchange. That's why the university considers it really problematic. People often don't think, oh, it's not that bad. It is pretty bad. So, anyway, let's not do that. Let's see why we not do that. I will talk a little bit more about that later. So, I just want you to take this as, if you follow all these things, you're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. Nothing bad will happen. You will succeed. You'll go on in life. Things will be fine. Everything will be good. All the things that you're worried about right now and stressed about will go away. Your life will be fine. You'll have a nice car. I can't promise a house these days, but yeah. Is there anyone in this room right now, please, by a show of hands, who has no idea what they're doing? Up high, please. Thank you. Me too. As should become abundantly clear. Keep your hands high. If you don't have any idea what you're doing, please. There is nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever. Good. I am glad to see some hands here. Thank you. There is no need to be embarrassed by this whatsoever. How would you know what you're doing? By a second show of hands, how many of you attended the induction program? Now there's quite a crossover here between people who attended the induction program and people who put their hands up to say, I don't know what I'm doing. What does that tell us, my friends, about the induction program? It was shit. I'm glad this is being recorded because nobody fucking watches the recordings anyway, so I can. Okay. That's not necessarily the fault of the people who did the induction program. What is more problematic, I think, is that the induction program that the university puts together and the department puts together isn't from your perspective. Okay? It is from the perspective of us. That is a problem, because we know what's going on. Well, to varying degrees. I don't know what's going on. Some other people in the department know what's going on, but me, I'm happy to not let things worry me like that. I'm happy to let it pass over my head. First year of university, and it would have been framed in the induction as, you know, you get a free hit. This is a place where you can make mistakes, etc. It is. I don't think that quite covers it. The idea that this is some place where you can make mistakes and things like that, because, hands up, again, this is all about participation this morning, hands up again, those of you who don't like to make mistakes and like everything to be perfect. It's really anxiety-provoking, isn't it? The idea that, you know, you can make mistakes, is like, oh, I don't want to make mistakes. I actually want everything to go well. It really narks me when you say, oh, you just make as many mistakes. No, I don't want to do that. That really freaks me out. That brings on my social anxiety. I want to crawl into my bed, get under the covers, and never wake up with the thought of that. So let's try not framing it in that way, because I don't think that's very useful. Instead, I think it's a perfectly reasonable expectation that you don't know what you're doing. I think that's fine. Okay? It's a really hard thing to accept, but it is fine. You need to do a couple of things. One, you need to lower your expectations. Okay? Most of you in this room are what we call, from psychology, type A personalities. Has anyone ever heard this phrase? You have? Yeah. What does it mean? Oh, well, it's all right when people hear things, but when they don't know what it means. Theodore Adorno, who was somebody who we're going to talk about in a few weeks in a very different context, post-Second World War, proposed that there were two kinds of major personality type A personality and type B personality. We don't need to worry too much about what type B personality is here. But a type A personality is this. It is somebody who, in particular, looks to perform as well as possible because that performance reflects well on them and creates an image with other people that they are competent. Now, most of us end up being type A personalities because that's exactly what we've socialized to be. We have been socialized in school, family, society, and we say, this person knows what they're doing, they are good because of that. When you're plunged into university, you don't know what the hell is going on here, you have no clue, all of a sudden that type A personality really kicks in. You think, holy shit, I've got to grasp what is going on here, or otherwise I'm going to look like a complete dick. And I don't want to look like a dick. People who look like dicks are dicks. And I don't want to be one of them. I want to be better than that. So everybody, with me now, okay? Sitting back in your chair, nice and comfortable, shoulders like this. Yeah? Come on, I'm not fucking around. Do it. Good. I'm liking it. Can we all take 3 really deep breaths? No, you've got a cold? Just try. First deep breath. There we go. Doesn't it already feel much better? Second deep breath. I can't take deep breaths, by the way. Use a smoking to fuck that. Third deep breath. Good. Relax. Nobody knows what they're doing. What you will find out over the next 3 years is that Swansea University is held together by a series of very flimsy sticking plasters. Nobody knows what they're doing in this place. It's utter chaos. Relax. Everyone is in the same position as you. But if you want to get some firm footing, this stage, get rid of some of that feeling, here are the things that you need to know. 1. Your role in year 1 is very, very simple. Turn up, do the assignments, go to academic mentoring meetings or personal tutor meetings, wherever the hell they're called this year. That's pretty much it. That's all you need to do. That will help you get used to where things are, how things work, what different people expect of you, etc. I wouldn't try to do much more than that. 2, and this one is quite important, try to spend some time on campus itself. It's very tempting when you first come to university, you're like, oh, I don't have to go to university. That's okay, but when it actually comes to the point then when you have to be here, it becomes very disorientating to actually be on campus itself. Try and spend some time actually here when you're not in lectures or academic mentoring seminars or something like that. I would recommend that you actually go to the library once in a while. Don't take any books out, you don't have to, or don't do that because I'm encouraging you to read, but actually go there and, you know, I don't know, play games on the computer or something. Get used to the spaces and what is available on campus. That can be really important in orienting yourself. And 3, remember this. You are not unique. You are not a beautiful little snowflake. Okay? I'm sorry. That hurts. It's true. And why I say that awful, terrible thing to you is, actually you're not unique in how you feel. Because what it can... Every fucking week! Don't worry, it'll go off in a minute. It just wants attention. It'll go off in a minute. Fuck off. Now, make me lose my train of thought now. 3, third point I wanted to make. Feeling like you don't know what's going on, like you're not sure what's happening around you, is perfectly normal. It's perfectly fine. Doesn't mean you're a failure, doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing, doesn't mean you shouldn't be here. But if that feeling becomes too much, and it can for some people, and it can be really debilitating, please go and talk to somebody about it. You can come and talk to me, you can come and talk to one of your other lecturers, you can come and talk to your personal tutor, you can come and talk to somebody in the department, you can come and talk to somebody outside of the department. But if that feeling is getting too much for you, don't let it start taking over. Please come and talk to somebody. We'll go for coffee, okay? You can buy. I'm always happy for people to buy me shit. So please, don't suffer in silence if this feeling becomes overwhelming. Because I know from experience, for some people, it does. It becomes all-encompassing. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm here, I'm not going to come anymore because I don't get it. That's really, really painful. Don't let it get to that stage if you can. I know it's easy for me to say, but please, if you feel that way, we are here to help. You might have in school or college had some direction about what your learning style is or preferred learning style. Has anyone had this experience where you've been given a preferred learning style? I see some nods. Okay. Now, I don't want to shit on the entirety of education as a discipline, but preferred learning styles are bollocks. Total and utter nonsense. Okay? Everyone has a preferred way of doing things, but that does not mean, well, the way it's framed usually in an educational context is, oh, I'm a kinesthetic learner. And it's like, all the other things don't matter because that's what I do. That's never what that actually means. It means you might prefer to have that kind of activity, but the other ways of learning have not been closed off to you as an individual. Somebody says, I'm a visual learner. So, yeah, but you can do the other stuff too. Primarily, in university, you'll never see this crap. But it becomes a really important sort of discourse in some people's lives that they have a particular learning style. It just doesn't work in this context. Look at the fucking room. How am I supposed to cater for kinesthetic learners in here? Am I supposed to rip out the seats? It doesn't happen, okay? Now, again, that can be a challenge to people. I'm maybe bad-mouthing the entirety of educational psychology here, but I don't see any here so far. What is important here is that you establish your own way of learning things. I don't think that this environment is the best learning environment. Never have. I have been here. Okay? You might find it difficult to believe looking at me, but I've been in this room, would you believe? I have sat in this shitty fucking room, bored senseless by some jerk off at the front talking about the history of political philosophy. I remember it. Well, I don't remember that much about it because I used to sit right in that back row before there were computers, maybe some really old before there were computers, before everyone had a laptop, and not take notes because I was sleeping. Because the lecture was also on Friday morning at 10. And I used to go out on a Thursday night because it was £1 a pint. And I used to get absolutely mangled. So I would sleep off my hangover in that back there, supposedly learning about Hegel and Rousseau and Kant and in Marx and all these people. And I didn't learn a thing. Because this is not a great learning environment. Being forced to watch something on a screen and listen to some boring old prick talk for 2 hours ain't a great learning environment. How do you compensate for that? How do you get over that if this isn't for you? Because for some people it actually works, but not for everyone. So what do you do? Find a way to engage with what? With the content. How might you do that? You see, your idea is spot on. You find your own way to engage with the content. How will you do that? It's up to you, I guess. That's all a big part of being an adult, which is what you are. Being in charge of your own learning, which is where you're at. But again, it makes me sound like, okay, well, if you don't like it, fuck off and do it yourself. That's not what I'm saying. Some people will find it beneficial to have a discussion about the content with the person who delivered it, for example. Guess what? You can do that. You can do that in any means possible. Some people don't like one-to-one meetings with people, so do you know what? Communicate in a different way. Send them an email and so on. Thank you to all of those who sent me emails over the last couple of weeks with regards to the module handbook. What I found really funny about a lot of those emails was that people ignored the bit of the handbook which says what you should do when you send emails to staff. Totally ignored it. That was very, very funny. I don't know if people were making like a wider point about I'm going to diss this, but that was hilarious. Anyway, you may find your own way to engage with the material. Okay? Now, attendance at lectures is really important because at least at that point you get a primary mode of delivery of the material. But if it isn't the thing that helps you to understand the material more, it's important that you try some different things. It could be you look at these things independently. It could be you just watch recordings of it. It could be that you book in some sessions with the person who leads the module, just to have a discussion about it. All of these options are available. Okay? It could be that you scour the internet for other materials to supplement the learning that you have. And in this module in particular, I try to provide some different approaches on Canvas, so there's some materials there that you can look at from different voices, different people's perspectives. I think that's important. Kind of devastating to say it, but read the textbook that I've advised for you to have. I've given it to you for free. It has all the information in it in a really accessible way. If you feel that you're not getting something, again, just like my previous point, don't sit there with it, right, and let it go, and like you don't get it, and that's the end of the story. Please feel that you are enabled to do something about that, that you are more than, at the end of the day, that's my job. It really freaks me out when students send me emails saying, sorry to bother you about this, but, it's like, you're not bothering me. They pay me to do this. That's actually in my job description to do this kind of stuff, That's what I'm paid to do. Take that on board. That is what we're paid to do. Please do not suffer in silence with things that you don't understand, especially if it's critical and crucial stuff, because that really hurts your prospects. These are the things that my colleagues think that you should do before attending a lecture. I live in the real world. I don't think people will do this. I think that actually some of you will do this. I think maybe, on my experience, about 10% will do this. The rest of you will turn up to lectures much in the same way that a child would walk into a film in the middle of it with no context of what's going on. And that's fine, because that's exactly how I used to attend lectures as well. I don't know where my colleagues think people are at, but that's more accurate. What people think, and what evidence suggests as well, is that downloading lectures before they're actually delivered, and every module you have should make your lectures available to you before they are delivered. If they haven't, give the person in charge a hard time, because that is actually part of your learning agreement with the university. The materials are available to you before they're actually delivered. Download them, have a look to see what's going to be covered, and apparently this makes it much easier to focus when you're actually in the lecture itself. And also do the essential reading, because it's there for a reason. We give you essential reading week on week, because it gives you the context by which to understand the content itself. And now, this is also important. In theory, your student loan is to be used for what? Never mind what it is used for. In theory, what do you think it's supposed to be used for? What?
Does it say like books and stuff?
Indeed. The purpose of a student loan, as set out in the stipulations of the agreement that you've signed, is to purchase materials which will aid you in your studies. A bottle of tequila is not a material which will help you in your studies. It will help you in different ways, but it won't necessarily help you with this. Now, again, living in the real world, it is my experience over the past decade that students don't buy books. That just doesn't happen anymore. We still operate under the misapprehension that people do that. You will have, if you've looked, those of you who have looked at the module handbook, you'll see an extensive reading list for each week's lectures. The expectation there is that you purchase that material. I have no actual expectation that you're going to do it, which is why I make materials available for free on Canvas for you. Because I know that actually that student loan money is incredibly small, it's not enough, and you can't be spending it on things which are actually quite expensive, which you can get in other ways. So if I can provide stuff for free, I will. I am breaking the law doing that. I am breaking all sorts of copyright laws by putting that material on Canvas. Do you want? Okay. The university gets sued, not me. Might cost me my job, but I'm not that attached to it, to be honest with you. I might drive in a van for Argos or something. Now, here is a secondary point. If you you require? A book or a piece of reading? I am happy to get that for you if it's not in the library, or if it's in the library and it's been taken out and you can't get a copy. I am happy to get that for you on one stipulation and one stipulation only. And it is this: you don't ask me where I got it from. Okay? Thirdly, if you feel computer literate enough to surf the dark web, I am happy to show you how to do this, but only for those who are happy to take it upon themselves that they are breaking the law. And if you're okay with that, please come and see me in my office hours, and I am only too happy to show you how to do this. Yes?
Sorry, is it the library induction next week?
The library induction will be next week, Thursday and Friday. So Sean will show you. Now, the library's really good here, I will say that, and in particular, the people who work in the library are really, really useful. Go and see them. They will usually kind of bend over backwards to help students. I don't know anyone working in the library that doesn't actually take that approach. But sometimes you don't want, sometimes it's beyond their control. The book is out, what can you do? There are other ways of getting materials. As long as you don't ask me how I did it, I'm happy to do it. Okay? But I'm not going to incriminate myself totally, but I know how to do things. It is useful to learn some skills about where you can get reading for free. If you need to read things online, the library, logging into the library system will allow you huge access to e-books, which you won't blow your mind, millions and millions of e-books. So there are ways of doing it. It's a good idea in the first year just to get used to being able to access materials in that way. During lectures, turning up, I feel the irony. I just feel the irony of this. Attendance has been shown to be a stronger predictor of final course grade than high school GPA, study habits and study skills. This is obviously an American study, because they talk about high school GPA and things like that. But, point remains in the UK as well. Attendance is the single biggest predictor of academic success in British universities. That's it. People who turn up do well. People who don't turn up don't do well. Now, as with any correlational study, it is not the only factor which is available. People that turn up tend to have a set of personal qualities which also are good predictors of them doing well. They are conscientious, they're good with task management, they're good with time management, for example. And those are also very good predictors for good performance in university degrees. So it's not quite as simple as just, if I turn up, things will go well. Well, people who do turn up tend to have those qualities also. But it is undoubtedly the one thing that actually predicts successful performance. I had a look last year at all the students who had first class degrees on graduation from third year last year, and none of them had attendance under 90%. None of them. All your modules should have what we call asynchronous delivery. That means there's a live session and a recorded session. If you can't make it, it is important that you have a look at that. This is my advice for recordings. Put them on 1.5 speed. That makes it much faster to watch, and it is much less boring. 2, don't watch it all in one go. Watching something that goes on for 2 hours in one go is really, really boring, unless the content is really exciting. Like, I don't know, a superhero movie where there's loads of fights and violence and explosions and shit. Yeah, I'm down with that for 2 hours. Listening to me for 2 hours. I've never watched one of my own lectures. I can't fucking bear it. I just hear my voice and I'm like, oh no, who's that mom? No, I can't do it. Please, fast forward it. Keep it going. Keep going faster. Do whatever you need to do to catch up, but make it easy on yourself. Do it in bite-sized chunks. Okay? I tend to try and chop the lecture into like 2 50-minute videos, but I don't advise anyone watches the 50 minutes in one sitting. Watch a quarter of an hour, watch 20 minutes, and then come back to it afterwards. Do it that way, much easier. Well, why, therefore, is it still important for attend? So the whole recording lectures thing is a COVID hangover, right? During COVID, obviously, we couldn't deliver lectures in this kind of environment, so what we had to do was record all the lectures, so you get these really weird sort of PowerPoint presentations with somebody laying in a corner, like this, and then waffling on for various amounts of time, and they're not really good. And then students were supposed to watch that, and then we did like seminars with students on Zoom, instead of doing this kind of session. And post-COVID, the university has decided it's a really good idea that we keep recording lectures in case people can't come, without realising that when you tell people there's always going to be a recording, they're not going to come anyway. And so therefore, that's why we have rooms like this. And this is now the normal for university lectures. I think, to be fair, my third years yesterday, like all of them came. I was really cool. I thought that was. But it's only week 2. By week 8, you'll see them. What my advice for relying on recordings is this. Don't make extra work for yourself. University work, your university degree involves a lot of independent study. Don't add to that by feeling that you have to set time aside all the time doing this when it's already been timetabled for you. It's just a way of adding work on work on work. So you've got to watch all the recordings all the time. And also can help with structure and routine of your time as well. There will be interactive elements to lectures which just don't get captured very well when they're recorded either. So the environment and being in the lecture can be very important. And obviously, you can come up and talk to me. You can ask me questions. You can't do that on a video. You can shout at the video. You can say disgusting, obscene things about me in the video, but even then, I can't respond. Where's the fun in that? What's the fun of insulting people if they're not right there to hear it? Yeah? If I'm going to insult someone, I want them right there. I'm going to give it to them fully, okay? In their face. And obviously my hilarious jokes were much better in person. They just don't translate to a digital audience, I'm afraid. That's why I've got no followers on Instagram. So, please, this is, in terms of the arrangements that we have, this is the best possible way of doing things. Maybe not the best way ever, but it is the best sort of thing. We do recognise that there are lots of legitimate reasons why people can't attend. I've had a couple of emails this morning, people saying they can't attend because they're not well. That happens. If you're not well, genuinely unwell, don't come into lectures. You don't have to. That's kind of why the recording system is there. It kind of bugs me in like November now when people are coming in and they look like they're dying. You know, they've got like flu or cold or something, or COVID even, which there is a lot about. And like, you see people genuinely coming in and they look like, you know, death warmed up. Don't do that. If you're not feeling well, you're allowed to be ill. That's okay. You know, it's nobody's problem. You know, nobody's going to shout at you for being ill. Please, if you're not well, if you're not feeling well, you can take advantage of this. What I want you to understand is it is better to be here if you can be. If you're not well and you've watched the recordings and you don't understand something, or you don't get something, or you want clarification, get in touch with the person who delivered the lecture. That's what, again, that's what their job is. It's their job to make sure that you are up to speed on something. Yeah, but don't go get in the habit of just missing things because you can't be fucked. That is a really slippery slope. And of course, hey, we have the wonderful little box in the corner. Oh, the most important box. Yeah.
You have to say that.
No. No, please don't double tap. It doesn't do anything. Okay, nobody ever has to sign out. 15 minutes you get to sign in. If you don't sign in the first 15 minutes, don't bother because it doesn't work. Okay? It registers you as not being here. Okay? Second point with this, don't ever, I mean this, don't ever sign in for someone else. Because that is another way that you can get kicked out of university. That is actually creating a fraudulent attendance at a lecture. People have. One person has been done for a year in Swansea University. Cardiff University, they've checked out loads for doing this. Honestly, there's been like dozens and dozens of students who've been moving through Cardiff University for doing this. I don't know why. Cardiff University's got this weird thing with the press where they tell the press everything. I don't know why they do that. So I think that's just a visible one. But I've no reason to suggest that's not happened at other universities too. Please do not take someone else's card and sign in for them. That is a really, really bad idea. If you get caught doing it, and you can get caught doing it, I don't know how you argue your way out of that one. Okay? I'm sure that's not, for the vast majority of people, that's never going to be an issue. So let's not worry about it. Try, if you can, to come to lectures with other people. It helps. It really does. That's kind of difficult in your second week, me giving you that lesson, because some of you won't know people yet. I get that, but as time goes on, you will. Try to do it in that way. It really does help coming along. Has anyone got any other questions about this? Now, there are consequences. It'd be amiss of me not to tell you that there are consequences for non-attendance. What the university calls that is non-engagement. The university has a number of measures of engagement with students. Attendance is just one of them. Also engagement with virtual learning environment, or Canvas as it's known, right? That's another. And also there are a couple of more nebulous sort of things that go on as well. If your non-attendance becomes, I think the kick-in rule is this: if you have no engagement for 2 weeks, you get flagged. If you have no attendance for a month, you are put on a list that says risk of withdrawal for non-attendance, for non-engagement. If it goes any longer than that, I think they just boot you. Or at least we'll start the proceedings to do that. We don't want to get in that position, right? I know this is horrible sort of stuff we're talking about on 9 o'clock on Tuesday, but it's good that you know, at least, that there are consequences. You can shortcut the entire system by getting in touch with student support if you're having issues. They will basically kick the system off and will stop measuring non-engagement at that point. If you let them know that there are issues, that will draw that. They will not start, that basically will stop engaging with your engagement. Okay? But again, it's important that you know that you know, if you're having issues, that there is something you can do. If you don't know any of those procedures, again, get in touch with me, get in touch with your other lecturers, get in touch with your personal tutor. That's what we're here for, again. We can't do the sort of care stuff because we're not trained to do that, but at least we can do the procedural stuff, which makes sure we don't get punished for anything. Again, I would advise that if you do miss a lecture, you watch the recording in the same week. I try to put the recordings up as soon as possible, but it's usually on a Thursday that they go up. That's basically because I have to process the video, upload it, etc. It's a whole thing. What you should do in lectures is make notes. Don't sit passively. Now, everyone, again, has different ways of making notes. We have the traditional way here. We have a pen and a piece of paper, and I like to see it. I love the old school approach. This is how I do things. We also have the more traditional way of doing things now is with one of these. Fantastic. What do you do?
I just use Word and I don't really care about if I'm typing it grammatically correctly. I transcribe it.
That's a really, really good approach. Making a transcription using Word, that's a very effective way. If you have a newer version of Word, and you can all get the newer version of Word for free, if you just type in Swansea University Microsoft Office into Google, it will take you to a page where you can download it for free. It has an auto-transcription on the new version of Word. So you can simply open it up and it will start transcribing for you. If you want the transcription of a lecture, that is a way to do it. The Canvas video as well, on the site, has closed captions, and you can download those closed captions if you want transcription that way as well. So there are a number of ways you can get a transcription. My personal favourite way of doing this is to have the slides open in PowerPoint and make notes on the slides themselves. I annotate the slides as people do. So if I've got things to add, and then I save my own copy, which has my own comments on it. But that's just me. Again, find your way of doing it. If you brought a computer, if you've got a laptop, if you've brought, and you have the ability to use it in this way, do. Very, very straightforward. But if you prefer to have a notebook in front of you, there is nothing wrong with that. And actually, when I do attend, research talks and so on, that's what I do. Because it kind of makes me focus and attend to what is being said and think about what I am taking down. I'm not able to transcribe. When I was an undergraduate student, this is what I used to do. I used to sit and transcribe everything that the person said. Mental that I had that kind of focus. Because now I can't focus. I think a combination of ADHD and TikTok has completely fucked my attention span. And I cannot listen to somebody for more than a minute without getting on my hands and knees and praying for nuclear holocaust, to be quite honest. So I can't actually do that anymore. But I try to do it. And I'm not as successful as I once was, but I still find it the best way that I can organise information. Again, it's about what you feel comfortable with doing. What I would advise is the least useful way of doing things is trying to follow a lecture on a phone. That's a really bad idea. Because there is no way in contemporary society, with our complete lack of attention and our constant need for dopamine, that you can keep that phone screen on the lecture. You will be on Insta and TikTok within 5 seconds. I guarantee it. Don't try and do it. It can't be done. Again, this is not my advice necessarily. Best way to make notes is to summarise. Try and make your own summaries of things as things go on. Making good notes can be difficult, but you can use systems to do that. There is a huge amount of learning help available from the library and from you get like a hub, like School of Culture and Communication hub on Canvas. They have a lot of learning support materials there. This last point on this slide, right in the bottom, is really important. Don't be anxious if you've missed something. Everyone misses something. Okay? That does not make you bad. I miss things all the time. If you've missed something and you feel it's important, ask. Don't feel that you can't ask. Please. It kind of freaks me out when people don't ask. It really hurts. It's like, please ask me. I hate the idea that people are sitting there thinking, oh my God, I missed that and it could be really important and I feel embarrassed to ask. Don't feel embarrassed to ask. It would be embarrassing to ask if it never happened to anyone else. It happens to everyone. Everyone is in that position. So please, please, please do that. Now, the reason why I say take notes in lectures, because there's a lot of evidence that suggests that taking notes in lectures is the best way to learn. There's also a lot of evidence to suggest that taking notes by hand is better than using a laptop, but that evidence is not that conclusive, and there are certainly ways that you can take notes with laptops which are just as good by taking them by hand. And actually, that's what we're used to doing. The real problem in lectures is not how you take notes, it's how you don't take notes. I used to do that. There's a room downstairs, Lecture Theatre B, and it's a bigger room than this. And what's nice about it, at the back, it has like a raised platform. Now, as you've already noted, I like to move around in lectures and sort of talk from the back and things like that, because that's simply the easiest way that I find to actually deliver material. I have to be moving to do it. Right? So in that lecture theatre, I was teaching Introduction to Media History, which is what you guys are going to be doing next. And I stood at Chris Pack and that Moses, right? And I was coming to that like this. I wasn't adding like this. And what 2 people on Netflix, and about a dozen people on various social media sites. But there are 4 people watching pornography. It's like, whoa. I realised that learning about Gutenberg's printing press was that fun. But people were getting excited, you know, and that's good. You know, arousal is a positive mental state. But what I could surmise is that there was a fair bit of distraction going on in the room, okay, and that people were focused on my detailed and quite intricately illustrated slides. And yeah, I took it to heart. It was personal, right? Now, the real problem in lectures is not how you do things, but how you don't do things. Distraction is my problem. It can be difficult to focus. That's why we break things up. That's why we have breaks in the way we do. I used to have cognitive psychology lectures with a guy called Alan Beaton, who's now retired. He would only lecture for 17 minutes at a time. He'd do 17 minutes and then a little alarm would go off on his watch. This is before like smartwatches. And he's like, right, we stop there 2 minutes. And you kind of just sat there for 2 minutes waiting for him to start again, and then he'd go again, and then he'd go again. This was a 3-hour lecture, right? It was a bit mad, but it kind of worked. It's kind of like, having 2 minutes, just, and then start again was really, really helpful. I tried to do that, and I just don't have the attention span to keep it to 70. It's like, oh shit, I was supposed to do 17 minutes, okay. It's hard to keep this going, but if you feel like you're getting distracted, it can be useful to have, like you just have there, there's a pen and paper and a screen, and switch between. That can be really handy. Or switch between some techniques that you have in order to refocus. If you're watching the lecture asynchronously, don't constantly pause it. Give yourself a set amount of time to watch. That's what I find very useful. If it's an hour, I'll say, right, I'm going to do this in 3 20-minute blocks and stick to that. Find the time which is useful for you, rather than like do 2 minutes, pause, go make a cup of tea, 2 minutes, pause, smoke some crack, 2 minutes, whatever you guys do, right? It's very important that you review your notes, because if you look back at them, you can do an essay or something that make no sense, because it was like 6 weeks ago and you haven't reviewed them, and it's like literally it's a stream of consciousness bullshit. It's not very helpful at that point, so do take some time doing it. This came from one of my colleagues. Block social media apps. I don't advise people do that. Ask questions. Lecturers are here to be asked questions. If you have questions about anything, you ask them in lectures. Some of you will put your hands up like this because you feel it's polite, and that's lovely. And what a nice gesture. Some of you will just bark things out, and that is also fine. I don't want to inhibit people from doing that. There's a MS100 thing on Discord, if anyone uses Discord, where you can post questions to, which is kind of what that's for. I will always ask you questions. I will always ask you to contribute in some ways. There are other lecturers that don't do that, but even those lecturers as well, you must ask them if there are things which come up and which you're unsure about. It is important that you do that. People have different styles of doing things, and that's fine. Now, that's absolutely fine. It's not you would expect that in life, right? But everyone should be open to asking questions and having questions be asked. Make sure you review stuff after the lecture. That's very, very important. This consolidates the learning that you have, and if you then have any follow-up questions, that's the time to ask them, I guess. When we ask you to read things, and I have asked you to read something, what have I asked you to read? Plateless Cave last week, and what else?
The slideshows.
The slideshows and so on, and what else have I asked you to read? Very good. I've asked you to read the book chapter by William Merrin from the book Media Studies 2.0. And what else have I asked you to read? I ask for so much. I give little, but I ask for so much. The referencing guide, which you'll need to do the exam next week, which I've updated on Canvas for 2023 with new examples of how you reference content from X/Twitter and Instagram and all this good stuff. Go read that too. This is my advice for reading. Read each text once, twice if you need to, and then do something else. Okay? Read something, go do something else, and then go back to it. So I'm always encouraging people to read it twice. If you've set a piece of reading to do, read it once, go do something else, then read it again. That is the most effective way of getting an understanding of something. In semester 2, I think for those of you, it applies to most people in this room, you are going to be asked to do a very long assignment for PR where you have to do like 6 summaries of papers about PR. So I'm only asking you to do 1 in this module. You're going to be asked, I think, to do 6. When you're asked to do consistent reading tasks like that, the best way to approach them is read them first, stop, do something completely unrelated, read them again, and then tackle the summary task. And that is exactly how I would advise you do the assignment 2 for this module. Read that chapter, it's long, you may not get it first time round. Take a break from it, go back to it, you'll be amazed how clear it looks the second time. Even if you think, oh my god, I don't really get this first time, when you do it again, you'll be like, ah, everything clicks. This is actually best way of doing it. Spaced reading is the best way of actually reading material for academic work. For those of you who like to highlight, do it meaningfully and minimally. It always cracks me up when I see students who've got highlighting on stuff, and it's like every line of a book is highlighted, and it's like, how do you know what's important? Everything's important according to this. Okay. Should we stop there and let's take 5 minutes? What do you mean, yes? Are you that bored?